Good morning, everyone. Today is December the 4th, 2018, and the Marion County Board of County Commissioners welcomes you to its regularly scheduled meeting held the first and third Tuesday of each month at 9 a.m. unless otherwise noted. The zoning portion of the meeting is held on the third Tuesday of each month at 2 p.m., and all commission and zoning meetings are open to the public. Everyone wishing to speak today will have an opportunity to do so, and we do have a few guidelines. So to encourage participation and ensure equal access to all participants and foster mutual respect, please follow these guidelines. First, as a courtesy to others, please silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices. If you need to take a call, please step outside. And if you want to address the commissioners, you may want to do so at the beginning and at the end of the meeting as part of our general public items and additional public comment sections. When you step up to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, and you must provide any documentation to the deputy clerk that you want us to look at. And if you do provide that, that will become public record and it will not be available to you to take. Please keep your comments to no more than 2 minutes unless you have already scheduled time and you are listed on the agenda. And for those that are listed on the agenda, you will have 5 minutes. And again, I ask you to stay very consistent and concise with your time. And also, please refrain from making any sales pitches or personal remarks that would be directed at the staff or the commissioners. General public items and consent agenda items and any other items that the board is expected to discuss are posted on the Marion County website, which could be accessed at www.marioncountyfl.org. By clicking on the agendas link to the homepage, you can download that entire agenda package and any backup documentation. Anyone who is requiring accommodations due to a disability or a physical impairment should contact Marion County Administration at 352-438-2300 at least 2 days before the meeting, and we will always make sure that we are able to assist you with that. The Marion County Clerk of Court keeps the official minutes and the audio recordings of the commission meetings, workshops, and public hearings. So to request a copy of these materials, please contact the clerk's office at 352-671-5622. Marion County also offers video recordings of most of our board meetings, workshops, and public hearings when applicable. And for more information about the video recordings, you may call the Marion County Administration Office at 352-438-2300. And with that, I am going to call the meeting to order. And if you'll please join me in standing for a moment of silence. We will, in our moment of silence, recognize the passing of former President George Walker Herbert Bush, and also Commander Major Sergeant Eugene Poole, who is in our community, who passed away this past week as well. After our moment of silence, I'll ask Vice Chair Moore to lead us in our invocation and pledge. Commissioner.
Dear Lord, we come into your presence through the power shed blood of Jesus Christ. Thank you for the honor, or the privilege actually, of being able to enter into the holiest of all and to make our petitions to you, dear Lord. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for all you've given us, dear Lord. Thank you for a country where we're free to worship you, where we're free to just have a government that is represented of the people, by the people, and for the people, where we can just truly carry out your commands here on earth and to make sure that we do what is best for the people of Marion County, dear Lord. Give us your leading wisdom, guidance, and knowledge that we need, dear Lord. Dear Lord, right now we just ask that you be with the Bush family, help them in their time of loss, dear Lord. Also be with the Poole family. Also be with our nation as we've lost one of our great presidents, dear Lord. Just be with our country, help our country to have a time of healing. And dear Lord, also as our country has been divided for so long, help our country to truly unite and truly be the United States of America, dear Lord. Dear Lord, we also ask that you be with our first responders and our military, dear Lord. Just protect them, guide them, help them, and be with their families too, as it's very much dedication and a service, and it's a sacrifice that they make for those of us who live in a free country. And dear Lord, we just ask that you take care of those who take care of us. May you get the honor, the glory, the power, the praise, and all that we say and do, and we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore, for that lovely invocation. I'll also recognize that tomorrow has been declared a National Day of Mourning. For those who have the ability to recognize that with your activities, by all means, you are encouraged to do so by our President, Trump. With that, I'll ask Madam Clerk if you could please call the roll.
Sure. Chairman Stone?
Here.
Vice Chair Moore? Commissioner Bryant? Commissioner Gold?
Here.
Commissioner Zalek?
Here.
Commissioner Bryant will be joining us. She did have an engagement this morning that she'll be joining us shortly. With that, I will go directly into our announcements. Again, we are holding our meeting this morning. We do have a public hearing scheduled at 10 a.m. here in this auditorium to consider resolutions adopting the intent to authorize use of uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem assessments. On December the 5th, tomorrow at 2:30 p.m., we have a commission workshop to discuss the Marion County Community Services, CDBG, Home, ESG, and CHIP 5-year plan. On December the 18th at 9 a.m., we will return into these commission chambers for our regularly scheduled meeting that is held on the third Tuesday of every month. That same afternoon, we will also have convene a meeting of the Marion County Community Redevelopment Area Board at 1:50 p.m. And then at 2 p.m. we will have our regularly scheduled commission meeting on zoning. So those are our announcements this morning. We'll go right into item 1.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Moore, seconded by Commissioner Gold, and all in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously, and we'll begin with a presentation from Kevin Sheely, who is the President and CEO of the Ocala Marion County Chamber and Economic Partnership. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the new Opportunity Zone program and just give you a very brief overview of what that program is, what it means, and where our Opportunity Zones are here in Marion County. But before I do that, I want to take a moment and introduce someone to you who you all already know. But we've had the opportunity here recently to promote Joe Reichel, who's part of our team at the CEP, to our new Director of Business Advocacy. You're used to seeing him here, but now you'll see him every meeting. And as always, we encourage you to ask him very difficult questions and give him impossible tasks. So we appreciate you working with him. Opportunity Zones is a new program that was actually part of the new tax bill that passed Congress and that the President signed into law in January. This was a portion of the bill that was so much focus on the tax reform kind of got lost, but it is a really significant program. And Opportunity Zones created the opportunity, if you will, for communities to request to their governors to submit qualified census tracts. And those are census tracts that are identified from the 2010 census that are distressed. They are low-income census tracts. Up to 25% of all the qualified census tracts in a state could be submitted and deemed an opportunity zone by the Department of Treasury. Every state treated these a little bit differently. In Florida, it was kind of open to communities how they wanted to do that. We appreciate the county letting us partner with you and with the city of Ocala to identify tracts that we thought had opportunity for investment and that would be very attractive for additional growth and to be able to submit those to the governor's office to be the opportunity zones for Marion County. We submitted 10 tracts. Those were sent to Treasury. 9 of our tracts, 9 tracts were identified here, 8 of the ones that we identified, plus 1 in the forest that we did not previously identify. Our tracts, almost all of downtown Ocala is in a opportunity zone. There are actually multiple census tracts there, but you would find the North Mag area, around the square, all the way down to the hospital district is in an opportunity zone, as well as the very large census tract that includes the Ocala-Marion County Commerce Park, also known as 489, the golf course. That tract runs from 27 to the interstate, 326, and over to Pine. So a very large census tract. The census tract that includes Golden Ocala and the World Equestrian Center is an opportunity zone, as is a census tract in Silver Spring Shores. And so we have 9 tracts that have been identified and approved by the Treasury. And what opportunity zones provide is 2 pieces that are very attractive to both investors and to developers. And the idea behind the program is to encourage investment in these tracts. Another program you may be familiar with, a federal program that's been around for about 20 years, we've not seen it happen here yet, though we've been working a couple projects, is New Markets Tax Credits. Every opportunity zone is also a New Markets Tax Credit zone. So there's the opportunity to combine these programs together. And I try very hard not to use opportunity when I talk about opportunity zones. I just can't help it. So I apologize for that. But as you look at the opportunity zones, there are 2 parts. One is, as an investor, if I have capital gains, I've sold a building, I've sold stock, I've sold a business, whatever that may be. If I invest in an opportunity zone, I'm able to defer my capital gains tax until December 31st, 2026. If I keep it in there for a certain period of time, it basically will allow me to defer until that time, and then to reduce that capital gains basis to 85%. So I'm reducing it by 15%. If I continue to hold it, if I invest into an opportunity fund, and so those can be big funds. You can create your own opportunity fund. We're still waiting for the final guidance from the IRS, but per statute, it is to be a simple 1-page form. We'll see whether or not that actually happens, but that is the idea in the initial guidance from IRS. It does seem to be that they're following those plans. You can create your own opportunity fund. The key is you have to be able to deploy that capital within 6 months of the funds going in. So obviously part of the attractiveness is to defer the capital gains, to reduce your capital gains. The other exciting part is if you invest in an opportunity zone, and that investment could be you're purchasing a building, you're investing in a business, you are doing something else, but you're making that capital investment within that zone. Let's say you buy a building. Let's say you invest in a building in an opportunity zone. And after 10 years, you hold that, you get the full advantage of that deferral and that reduction in your capital gains. And in year 11, you sell that building, and you have a $500,000 gain. So you invested $1 million, you sell it for $1.5 million. That $500,000 is tax-free. So the gain on that is so not only did you get the deferral and the reduction, but you're also the increase in that is tax-free. So obviously it's very interesting to investors, to those who have capital gains, to be able to make that investment. The other part then is for those looking to do projects, to know that if I am looking to develop a apartment building, if I'm looking to develop a hotel, if I'm trying to build a business in an opportunity zone, these investors are going to need, they have to, as I just mentioned, they have to deploy that capital within 6 months. So they can't just hold it. So they're going to be very actively looking for, and they already are, looking for projects in which to make an investment. That really will help be more attractive dollars. Those are dollars that are going to be targeted to go to these areas that have been identified as distressed. And it's going to make it really attractive to put investment in those places. Now, it's very important that investors recognize if they invest in a bad deal that's in a zone, let's say the deal loses money, they still owe that tax at the end of 7 years. It's reduced, they still owe it. So it's not going to make a bad deal good. It will certainly make a good deal great. And so we're very excited because as we look at where these zones are across Florida, and obviously we're a little biased, but we think we have the best zones. There are places where people are going to want to do projects, want to make investments. And so I think we'll see not only locals who want to invest in our area, but we're already seeing people coming from across the nation interested in investing in our opportunity zones. And so we think it's not a silver bullet, it doesn't solve all the problems, but it becomes another tool that we have in our arsenal as we seek to grow and to help our community be more successful. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about that. I will let you know that a couple of weeks ago, we brought in 2 experts on the opportunity zones and new markets tax credits. We were able to set up a number of one-on-one meetings with developers and investors in our community, plus we hosted a lunch for about 40 to learn about the program, because we really want to make sure our local folks, as much as possible, know and understand and take advantage of this new program.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Shealy. Does anyone have any questions from the board? I just have one, and that is the opportunity zone. Is that based on zip code?
It's based on census tract.
Census tract.
Right.
Okay.
So, and it's based on the 2010 census. So as you think about this, that's a little bit dated, but that is the basis, is the 2010 census.
So it is the census tract. Thank you. I know you said that. I was
That's
just
okay.
trying to wrap my brain around the size of it, thinking.
Right. And understand, if you can go to our website, there is a link and it'll take you to see a tool to see all the census tracts.
Okay.
They vary very much in size. Some of the downtown census tracts are just a few blocks.
Mm-hmm.
The one, as I just mentioned, around the Ocala-Marion County Commerce Park is quite large. The one in the National Forest is huge. I'm not really sure what type of investment we're going to drive when you can't buy property, but that is a very, very large census tract. Okay. The other thing I would mention is part of the reason this program was so attractive to Republicans and Democrats alike, it is actually a Democratic initiative, is that it really is not going to cost, there's not a loss of funds. Many times what happens with capital gains, especially when it comes to real estate, is those get rolled in through a 1031. And so those capital gains are never paid. They're continuing to be reinvested. This is creating the opportunity where the government will actually, in the future, be earning those capital gains that have oftentimes been rolled into other investments.
It's very innovative.
All right. And again, we encourage, if you have anyone who has questions, please have them reach out to us. We'll be happy to get them with folks who can talk and provide professional guidance for that program. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you again, Mr. Shealy. Have a great day, and congratulations to Mr. Reichel. Okay, we will go into our general public comments. So again, those that have signed up, you will have 5 minutes, and when you come to the podium, please give your name and address for the record. And I will say that Tony DeLisle is not going to be joining us today. However, everyone is invited to the Emergency Preparedness Conference for Persons with Disabilities, and that will be on Tuesday, February the 26th, 2019. And for details, you can get that from our package that is online. So we'll begin with Ms. Kathy Wyckoff. Ms. Wyckoff with us this morning?
Don't see her.
That's not like her, so I hope all is well. We'll go on to Ms. Kim Pruitt. Good morning, Ms. Pruitt.
Good morning.
We're happy to have you with us today.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kim Pruitt, and I live at 9315 Southwest 105th Street here in Ocala. You know I'm here to speak about the animal shelter. First, I want to start by quoting the definition of no-kill. A no-kill shelter is an animal shelter that does not kill healthy or treatable animals, even when the shelter is full. Reserving euthanasia for terminally ill animals or those considered dangerous to public safety. A no-kill shelter uses many strategies to promote these shelter animals. Expanding no-kill shelter uses its resources and volunteers, housing, and medical protocols, and to work actively to lower the number of homeless animals entering the shelter system. Folks, we are not no-kill. We're nowhere near no-kill. We're not even working towards no-kill. We can't become no-kill until, and again I quote, We lowered the number of homeless animals entering the shelter and used strategies to promote those shelter animals, unquote. In the last meeting, it was said, it doesn't happen overnight. Well, commissioners, it's been 8 years. It's been over 8 years. And still none of the ordinances that promote no-kill have been put in place. Marion County takes in as many animals per 1,000 residents as Miami-Dade. We are one of the highest intake shelters in the state of Florida. These ordinances are not being put in place. These ordinances are being implemented and put in place in many of the other counties, but not Marion. What makes Marion so different? They're being put in place in Lake, Pasco, Hernando, Orange County, but not in Marion. And it does happen overnight. It did in Lake County. They went no-kill within 6 months by putting these ordinances in place. Also, by going no-kill and being a true no-kill shelter actually reduces the amount of tax money that you have to have for the shelter. Here are the ordinances that these other counties have put in place which have reduced the intake of unwanted pets. No retail sales of puppies and kittens. That's it. That simple one sentence has stopped puppy mills in Lake County, Hernando County, and Orange County. And if they were there, they moved to Marion County because we took that one simple sentence out of the ordinance, of the flea market ordinance. Why? Nobody can seem to tell me that. Somebody also said, well, you know, retail sales, they want purebred puppies. Folks, these are not purebred puppies. In fact, they are 100% from puppy mills. We have at least 3 large puppy mills in Marion County. 3. Large. We can't even get on the property. They're hiding something. Another ordinance that we seem to be very confused on is backyard breeders. Do you know what a backyard breeder is? I heard one of the commissioners mention something about kennels and land use change. Let me tell you, folks, what a backyard breeder is. It is some poor old female dog tied to a dog house, bred over and over, and they sell those puppies for $50 or whatever they can get out of them. I can take you to 20 of them right now. I've saved a ton of those puppies. They're sick, they're not vetted, and no health certificates, nothing. I even offered many times to fix these dogs, to get them to stop this backyard breeding, because that's what's coming in our shelter. They're young kids. When they want to go to the beach, they throw them in the shelter. That's what's happening too. And they won't, because they know they can get away with it and make that $50 or $100. They're not doing it in other counties, but they're doing it here. Pasco even set up a sting operation in 2015 and stopped them. Lake County put in an ordinance in place. They will fine a backyard breeder $500 if they catch that breeder selling puppies with no health certificate. It is not rocket science. It is simply having your animal control officer going to someone's house and asking to see a health certificate. If they don't have it, boom, $500 fine. And all the time that I've been to these backyard breeders, I've never seen a kennel, anything that would constitute land use change. 60% of what's coming in that shelter is coming from those backyard breeders. Cut that out and it'll start working. Something else that needs to be implemented and has been implemented in other counties is a Facebook page. Social media gets more of those animals adopted out than Pet Finder and Pet Harbor combined.
Thank you, Ms. Pruitt.
Am I done?
Yeah.
And thank you for your passion.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for your passion and your love for animals.
You're welcome.
You're welcome
was so
to
much more.
stay. You're welcome to stay and address us again at the end.
I will, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Sure. Ms. Karen A. Hernan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you over the weekend for giving up your spare time. Karen Arman, 2234 Northeast 6th Place, Ocala, Florida. Most of us are here because we want to help. We want to be no-kill. It's a possibility. It isn't an overnight thing, but we have several large puppy mills right here. We're not going to mention names because we are trying to investigate them on our own, which is really not our job, but we don't know who do we call to get a response. And we don't need to like call somebody on Saturday and say, we're seeing this, and then say, well, we'll get out there on Tuesday, because the dog's already buried by then. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about an area that I believe is a dogfighting situation. There are a lot of skeletal remains of dogs there. The guy that owns the property gets arrested a lot. He gets a new dog every time he gets released. He gets puppies every time he gets released. This is off-grid, like it's so far back. There's no electric, there's no plumbing, this is the perfect place for them to fight these dogs.
Yeah.
These are the people that need the money from fighting these dogs.
Is that the location that we discussed this
Yes,
weekend?
ma'am.
Okay.
That's why I thank you very much for taking the time out of her weekend. And I know she had a busy weekend because she had a lot of personal things going on too. And I am very grateful for that. And if we can just get you guys to work with us, like we'll be your foot soldiers. And we'll do what you need us to do. We're not afraid of getting dirty. We're not afraid of, you know, we don't want to be confrontational. But we do want the ability to get the evidence that we need to prove these things. I just want to pass this around. Can I give this so y'all can pass it around?
Just remember, if you give it to us, it will become our property.
That's fine.
Okay, very good.
Actually, the clerk.
That way?
Yes, with the clerk.
This is our puppy mill. These are where these cute puppies come from. Christmas, this is their season. Like, and you know what they actually said to a person in my posse back here? That someone went there at the end of the month last month and they said, well, the puppies are cheaper, it's the end of the month. The prices are higher at the beginning of the month when our senior citizens in the villages have their checks and we take their money and we're selling them puppies that are costing them $6,500 to save. These are old people looking for a companion for the last of their years. And they're watching it die after they've paid $1,000 for it, and then they've still taken it to a UF vet and paid more thousands of dollars, and it still is dying. And these people know they're selling dying puppies. They know they're selling sick puppies. They are following no guidelines. If Maddie's Fund and them came here and gave us guidelines for our shelter and what our animals in our shelter should live by, then why should the animals in the puppy mills or breeders or whatever they want to call themselves not have to have the same standards that our shelter has to provide for our animals? That's my question. Why do they get away with that? These animals are stacked in cages, wire cages, this high. And this one pees on that one, pees on that one, pees on that one. Nobody ever cleans any of that. Nobody ever really feeds them. Nobody touches them. Nobody takes them outside. They don't even know. When you take one out and you sit it down, they pull their feet up because they don't even know what the feeling of grass is. Like they're just freaked out from it. We got to address that because until the puppy mills are stopped, will never be no-kill. Because the puppies that don't sell or the ones that they have been inbred because they don't care. They just want puppies for money. And the ones that are inbred and have genetic problems, those are the ones that end up in your shelter. They need lots of care and lots of medical stuff, or we have to euthanize them because they're born with cleft palates, or they're born with hips not in socket. They don't even have the hip sockets, or they don't even have their front legs. I mean, what you don't see is atrocious. Really, and we just need to know who do we contact, how do we connect animal control, the sheriff's department, our commissioners, and all of the rescues here that want to help so that we're all on the same page and we can get people where we need them when we need them, not days later. That's my concern. And I appreciate your all's time, and I'm even going to get out of the way early.
Thank you, Ms. Ahern. We appreciate your passion in coming forward. Next is Ms. Linda Daniels.
Good morning. I'm Linda Daniels, 1303 Estrelita Lane in the Villages. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. I appreciate it. You're going to have to excuse some redundancies. We didn't get together to practice, and I'm going to say a few things you might have just heard. But my purpose in being here today is to ask the Marion County Commissioners to please, please extend the ban on sales of puppies and kittens from just flea markets into retail stores. My address to you today is spurred on by a burgeoning movement propelled by the power of social media. People are outraged and angry, and rightly so. I have a list of over 100 names of persons who committed to attend an evening meeting here to show their support. I'll speak about puppy mills because those are the feeders that stock the retail stores. A puppy mill is defined as an establishment that breeds puppies for sale in conditions regarded as inhumane. Whenever you walk into a shop and you see multiple breeds or cross breeds of dogs, you are 100% looking at a puppy mill operation. With your permission, I have given the deputy clerk some packets that I would appreciate being handed out. Oh, it looks like they already have been. A little piece of candy in there to sweeten what is not a very sweet thing that I have to tell you about. What you don't see are the outrageous conditions in which breeder dogs are kept, and I think this was just addressed. Many of these poor animals have never touched grass. According to neighbors of one of the local mills, these animals are kept outdoors in cages with tarps covering them. They sit out in 30-degree weather, they sit out in 95-degree weather, and they have actually been left outside in hurricanes. They bark and cry all night long so that neighbors cannot open their windows for the heartbreaking sounds that they hear. I am told that at times the smell wafting from the property is nauseating. You will see pictures which typify the conditions of puppy mills, and you'll read real stories from real people who have bought puppies from Marion County puppy mills. You will hear about dogs being sold with parvo and sellers refusing to suspend sales when they were directed to do so by a vet. You will see yet more heart-wrenching stories about people spending thousands of dollars trying to save the lives of puppies that they just bought, often to have them die anyway. You will read multiple accounts of attempts to get help from the seller, only to have the victims re-victimized, screamed at, and then have their phone numbers blocked. My guess is you will be sickened as you read through these accounts. This is not a business that Marion County wants to support. In general, people who breed dogs this way do so wantonly without regard to their health, the living conditions of the sires and dams, and the pain inflicted upon the public. These are not nice people. When I began warning people on social media about a thriving retail operation here in Marion County, I started receiving late-night threatening phone calls from a burner phone. My friends have reported being chased in cars, sworn at, and having finger guns pointed at them as they drove by a mill and a shop. Often folks who run puppy mills have criminal records and are generally considered unsavory at best and dangerous at worst. Imagine if you were the neighbor of one of these operations and afraid to speak out. Fear is a powerful silencer. How long can this be tolerated? To knowingly allow such practices to continue paints a huge black eye on Marion County. I implore you to spend a few moments later to read these accounts taken from recent Facebook posts, which surely represent a drop in the bucket of what's been going on for 20 years. Some of these dogs are going to show up as county orphans because they're often so genetically flawed that people no longer want them or can't afford the huge medical bills that they're going to incur. Then they become the problem of Marion County Animal Services. Congratulations to Marion County for prohibiting flea market sales of puppies and kittens. You've made an amazing first step in solving these problems. Sadly, money-driven breeders are using the loophole in the ordinance to set up shop in county retail stores to continue to exploit. Florida has 61 municipalities which have taken the progressive and humane step of banning retail sales of puppies and kittens. Marion County, a big chunk of the remedy rests in your capable hands. Be the heroes. Be the voice of the abused animals who cannot speak for themselves. Be the change agent which protects the public from unscrupulous practices that rob its wallets and threaten its health. Make Marion County number 62 to ban retail sales in Florida. Be the heroes.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Daniels. And Commissioner Bryant, I know you've worked a great deal on all of this.
Yeah, I just have a question, Ms. Daniels. Do you have a list of the municipalities and/or counties that have?
I can get that for you from Kate McCall.
That'd be great. Okay, if you could drop that
Oh,
off
okay,
over
good.
in my office or email it to me, I'd appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Commissioner Bryant.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Madam Chair.
absolutely. Next is Karen Gobert.
Name and address first, darling. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Karen Gopper. I live at 11447 Pheasant Trail in Leesburg. Good morning, members of the board. I have come here to tell you a story about a puppy named Molly who I purchased from a retail pet store in Marion County based on an ad on Ocala for sale, guaranteeing no puppy mill sales, and it was a family-run business. I bought the puppy for my hospitalized mother, who was very depressed over losing her companion dog. More than the story about this puppy, I need to share with you the health implications and the guilt of my decision that could have made a lot of people sick and cost me the life of my dogs. 3 days after purchasing Molly, she became desperately ill. She would not eat, had diarrhea, was vomiting, and was so lethargic that she was limp. I called the breeder to notify her that I had to bring Molly to my vet because she was so sick. I didn't want to refund or return the puppy. I just thought that she should be aware of the problem. Her reaction was to scream and swear at me and imply that somehow it was my fault that the dog was sick and that she never had any issues with any of her puppies. She told me I didn't need to bring Molly to the vet, that I was subjecting Molly to undue stress and not unnecessary tests, that I just needed to feed her baked chicken thighs mixed with kibble, wet dog food, an over-hard egg, and some Publix natural vanilla ice cream, and she would be fine. I rushed Molly to my vet the next morning as she was so sick when she would try to walk, she would fall forward on her head or fall sideways and screech like she was in pain. My vet ran tests and the results were not good, and I immediately had to take her to UF Animal Hospital, which is the best in the state. Molly was rushed into ICU as soon as we got there, and the next day my 5-year-old dog Maggie started showing the same symptoms. She was rushed to UF, and now I had 2 puppies in critical care. The vets were certain that the new puppy transferred something into my home, but did not know if it was viral, parasitic, or infectious. Molly came home with, with a feeding tube. And in the meantime, my sister's dog began to show symptoms even though her dogs had never been in contact with Molly. My sister had handled Molly and the vets explained to me about human to clothing contact. This is when my panic set in. As I brought Molly to the hospital on the advice of the medical staff, as they believe in pet therapy. The medical staff and the patients had held this puppy, and I became concerned. I began to investigate the diseases that these dogs can carry in puppy mills and went on the CDC website and learned there are several animal to human communicable diseases, some of which are extremely serious, especially to young children, the elderly, and the immune-compromised people. Campylobacter is one of them. According to the CDC, the first 2 weeks of January in this year alone, Florida had 20 to 25 people become sickened with Campylobacter infections directly linked to pet store puppies. If I may approach.
Yes.
Campylobacter can lead to Guillain-Barré syndrome, which can last for years and even be fatal in humans. Then there is hookworm, spread through contact with contaminated soil. People become infected with hookworm while walking barefoot. Less commonly diseases are Giardia and leptospirosis. Leptospirosis is a bacterial disease of people and animals transferred through contaminated water and urine or other bodily fluids from an infected puppy. It can lead to kidney and liver failure if left untreated. Molly was never given this vaccine, even though her health certificate requires it. I implore you to change the flea market ordinance to include the sales of retail puppies and kittens, not only to protect the health of your community, but also to protect of the innocent people who buy them.
Thank you, Ms. Gopert. Next, we have Dale Kreutzer.
Good morning. Dale Kreutzer, 259 Marion, Oaks Lane, Ocala. I asked for 5 minutes this time.
You got it.
Because I ran out last time when I was talking, but after having all these people behind me, before me that spoke, I really don't need 5 minutes. I don't want to repeat everything that they've just told you just to take up everybody's time. But I know that saying it multiple times is when people start to really listen. So that's why I'm here again this month as a resident, but also I am one of the administrators of Marion County Lost and Found Pets of Ocala. These are the stories that we hear on our, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. But these are the stories that we hear on our webpage all the time. We don't want to come here all the time and pound you guys with all animal issues, because I know you have a lot of community things that are important. But to us and to at least 19,700 members of our site, it is important animal issues. Again, we need to correct our ordinance to include the no sale of puppies and cats, kittens in retail stores. We did take it out for the flea markets, but they just changed locations. They just went into a retail store. We need to find the backyard breeders, and we also need to get our animal control to have the proper tools, and by that I mean the ordinances for them to go after these people. We have called animal control, and animal control says, well, I can't do anything because this isn't in place or that isn't in place. Animal control knows the laws that we need, and I would ask you to ask animal control what other help we need as a community to enforce getting on these properties and enforcing our animal laws. The definition of the no-kill also includes all animals, reptiles, amphibious, birds, farm animals, and wild animals. We're just at the stage of trying to stop euthanasia in our shelter, but we need to implement a lot of things, and it's a lot of work, and we have a community of animal lovers that are willing to help. Again, I ask you to have an evening meeting. We have more people, like she said, over 100 people that was interested in coming to an evening meeting. So if you could do that, that would be also great. But I'll leave you with this. Last night I watched Fox News, and they were talking about the late President Bush's animals and his love for animals. And Tucker Carlson said, dogs are helpless without people, which is one of the greatest appeal about dogs. but also the reason dogs tell us so much about the people that have them. So the people that are abusing our laws and our animals, that's telling you what kind of people they are, and they're not good people for our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being with us today. Ms. Wyckoff, I'm so glad to see you. We will welcome you to the podium at this time also.
Good morning. My name's Kathy Wyckoff, 723 Northwest 30th Avenue, and I saw that y'all had a lot of public comments today, so I'm going to be short. I'm probably only going to use a couple of minutes. My brother just had a birthday. The anniversary of his death is in January. Today I brought you a copy of his Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book with his name in it, and I made y'all a copy of it, and I'm just going to read something to you that I wrote along with that copies and his name. And I'm going to compose myself for a second. Okay. 80 to 90% of the inmates in the county jail have a drug or alcohol use disorder. If the sheriff and jail leadership are pinning all of their hopes on Alcoholics Anonymous, then why are inmates having to beg for the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and told they are on a waiting list? Again, meetings are for support, and completing the 12 steps are the program. Without a sponsor and a Big Book, there is no program. Outside the walls of the jail, the success rate for AA is about 5%. How successful do you think this program is as it is currently being administered in your jail? Now, I'm not trying to be critical. It's the AHA Project. And I hope y'all also got a copy of the latest statistics. We are going to exceed overdoses in administration of Narcan in our community. It'll be another 747 of people died this last year from an overdose. So I am only going to ask something that's going to be easy, and I see that one of my favorite people at the sheriff's office is here, Chief Douglas, and he's a very compassionate person. He's a very loving person. He knows the Lord, and I appreciate him a lot. I'm going to suggest that instead of having them request a Big Book, that Judge Cochran sends back a sticker that says, "Thanks for your request. You're now on a waiting list." As you can imagine, the process takes time. I'm working on it, Mr. Cochran, Inmate Services. This is one of the names I gave you, Brittany Rosensweet. She almost died. She went to the hospital, and I'm not going to tell stories because my stories get long, as you all know. So I'm going to suggest to y'all that maybe these very inexpensive books could go out to the 80 to 90%, 100%, every inmate. They could be inside there, and then they don't have to ask Judge Cochran. And we also should have Bibles. We already have them, but they have to request them now. And so I thought I would just lower the bar a little bit instead of always coming in here and asking you guys for a lot. I would say, can we just get some big books in every cell, and we get some Bibles in every cell, and that would be a start. And what are the chances that that's going to work? If we save just one. Then every sheriff tells me that. We save just one. And look, I'm on a yellow light, I'm out. Thank you. Love you guys. God bless.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wyckoff. I also have signed up Pat Lunardelli, if you'd like to join us at the podium.
Hi, I'm Pat Lunardelli, 8984 Southeast 126th Place, Bellevue, Florida. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm very fortunate my employer afforded me some time off this morning to be able to come to this meeting. So I as well would beg that we could do some after evening meetings so that more of the population could come. Most of us from the animal community, you've probably heard what I needed to say. I have little to add to the presenter's wealth of knowledge and their information. But I just want to share one personal experience with one such puppy mill. I was appalled as I drive down the street every day to bring my daughter to school. Poorly made Puppies at Bailey Plaza signs everywhere, on every utility pole, stuck in the ground everywhere, at every gas station, at Walmart. They're everywhere on the poles. I spent time calling code enforcement, utility companies, and DOT, finally to get one of the agencies to go to the owners and tell them it is actually illegal to put signs up on the utility poles. So they no longer have put signs up on the utility poles. But just to give you an example of the type of people that we're talking about, the owner's son accosted a senior citizen in a minivan who was picking up one of the signs on the side of the road. He was banging on the car windows, chased him down the street to get his sign back. Oh, sorry, yellow light. Also, so I drove by the plaza to let them know, they were sitting out front, that it's illegal to put signs. The owner came up to my truck, yelling words that you would never want to hear, threw herself on the side of my truck, dropped to the ground, and was screaming I hit her, and then called the police on me. This is not the quality of business we want in our community. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us this morning. Yes, Commissioner Bryant.
Mr. County Administrator.
Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps we need to have a conversation with code enforcement, and that business needs to be notified that if their signs are found in our right-of-way, that they will be fined.
We'll follow up.
I mean, within the county jurisdiction, of course, we can't do anything within the municipalities. They're not under our jurisdiction, but within county jurisdiction, I think it needs to be made very clear to them that we do not want to see any of their signs in our right-of-way.
Yes, ma'am.
Or on utility poles or anywhere where they're not supposed to be.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Very good. Yes, Commissioner Golden.
Question might be for staff, and I don't want to hit Jim up too quick because I know you're dressed up really well today, but I was just trying to find out how many of the retail sales do we have in Marion County?
I'm only aware of that one.
Yeah, me too.
I've been told there's 3.
Good morning, Commissionerwoman and Chairwoman and Commissioners. There's various retail sales. The one that they're speaking of, obviously, is at Bailey Plaza. That is the one that's been most on everyone's mind. There are other retail sale locations within different municipalities. I know in Bellevue there's at least one that I'm aware of potentially.
But we only have one in the county that we're aware of, right?
That stands out right now that I'm aware of, but I can do some further research and look into and see and determine if there are further.
That probably came about from our ordinance change, and that's how they avoided that. What would the, and I'm probably going to ask Mr. Minner this, so I'm giving you a heads up. What would the impact be if we did do an ordinance change for an existing business? If we went and changed this and made, and
They have to comply.
So what
Yeah,
are
so-
you request? What is your?
My question is, if we did an ordinance change, do they have to comply immediately, or, because I know we did that already with the flea market, and I think it took effect October 1st.
Which is why they're where they are now.
So Commissioner Gold, are you suggesting that we? What are you suggesting about the change to be?
I think that, in my opinion, I think that we should go ahead and just change the ordinance to also eliminate the retail sales. So that's my opinion on it.
So are you making a motion for that?
I'll second that if you're making that.
I had a question to Mr.
Oh,
Minner.
that's no ordinance.
Before
It's
the
ordinance.
Yeah,
agenda
it's a
is
lot
ordinance.
more to it.
And
Yeah,
Madam
well-
Chair, if I may, if Commissioner Gold.
No, please, please.
Okay, so Jim, I've got some questions now regarding that business that's already in place. Aren't there parameters in place that they have to follow as far as proving immunizations, proving veterinary visits and things like that in the meantime? I mean, do we have the authority to go in, or who has the authority to go in and check their records and make sure that they are in compliance with the puppies that they're offering for sale at this point in time?
Right now, that would fall under the Florida Department of Consumer Affairs, Department of Ag. They provide the enforcement for State Statute 828.29, which is certificates.
I'm going to ask, and I don't think that the board needs any consensus for this, but I'm going to ask, actually maybe we do, that the chairman of our board be able to sign a letter stating the issues that we are having with this particular business, that it's forwarded to the Department of Ag, the Department of Consumer Affairs, and that our animal control services is asking them to go in and do what they have to do to check out what's going on there until we can get language done in our ordinance But for the safety of the community, for the safety of the puppies that are there, that business needs some oversight, obviously. And whatever we can do legally at this point in time, we need to go ahead and do.
Agreed.
Just to make sure that they're in compliance.
My only concern is there are legitimate people out there, and I do not want to put others out of business who are doing it correctly. So that's my only concern about stopping anything.
And that's fine, and I understand that. I'm just saying, until we can address the ordinance issue, we need to do what we can to protect the public from this particular business, because obviously something is not right. We're getting lots of complaints about this one particular business, and we need to notify the appropriate authorities so that they can go in and do what they do when it comes to that particular business.
I'm very fine with that particular business, but again, looking at that ordinance, there are others in this community, I believe, that we would be possibly having an ill effect on. And I mean, I can think of one down in Bellevue area that we have approved an expansion down there. I mean, we need to be very careful what I don't want us to just make a knee-jerk reaction.
That's where we have Mr. Minter to word the language to try and avoid unintended consequences. But we need to eliminate the ones that are not doing it right.
And I'm not sure that they would be considered the same thing.
It's not retail.
I'm not sure.
Well, they do retail.
All
over the country.
Indeed, so.
They're very different from what's happening down at Bailey Plaza.
But I definitely think the one that has been brought forward that we've had a lot of issues on, I've not read this folder, but I'm believing it's going to be everything concerning that particular breeder that we have jurisdiction on.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Gold.
And that's why I was asking y'all, please don't comment out to hear the chair. Will remind you that in a second. That's why I didn't want to make a motion at this point, because I know we do have some breeders, which I'm sure that people are against that too, that have complied and do it. And I know just driving to Alabama over the weekend, I saw that all through Georgia where you can buy those. So I know people are going to go for that. But I think we can look at this. I'm not ready to make a motion for it yet until we research it. And then I want to also address the evening meeting part. I don't have a problem with an evening meeting, but I think we know the opinions, and people are more than happy to send us emails. But when you do it, I just want to say, you know, we get emails, we get comments, a lot of us, or some of us get on social media, and some of the comments that are made to us directly that all this is our fault, or the kind of emails that we receive, you know, I don't think anybody in this room would appreciate the kind of things that we get sometimes, but the opinions are there. We know the opinions. So I don't have a problem with an evening meeting, but I don't, you know, see having 100 people tell us the exact same thing. But I'd love to see the opinions and everything. And I know I've met and other commissioners have met with people, but if that's the board's choice to do it, I don't have a problem with it. But like I said, it might just be redundant of something we already know.
Well, and an evening meeting would only be, I think what they're requesting is an evening meeting just on that particular issue. And I don't know if it's warranted at this time. We know what's out there. We know what's going on. We're paying attention. You know, we obviously are trying to move in the right direction in what we've implemented already in animal services, and we're working as diligently as we can. Unfortunately, when you're talking about changing ordinances, when you're talking about changing the way that our animal services conducts its daily business, which they've come a long way in just 4 to 5 months. So it's, and I know you don't want to hear it, but it's just going to take us a little time. We're working on it every single day. And I do think that probably the most appropriate step for us to take at this time when it comes to that particular business is exactly what we said. That's where we're going to see the quickest action taken. There's nothing that we can do because it would take us a bit. What's the least amount of time it would take us to change an ordinance, Mr. Minter?
Well, we'd have to put it on the advertisement, the next agenda, so it'd be into January.
Yeah, I mean, so this is probably the best course of action, and I don't even know what that change in the ordinance would look like, because we do have some different varying opinions on the board, and that's going to have to be a totally different conversation. So, Madam Chair, if it pleases you, I would like for Jim and for staff to follow up, and let's get in action what we've just talked about as far as contacting Department of Consumer Services, Department of Ag. If we've got puppies coming out of a business that are creating that kind of that's very serious.
So if the letter can be drafted, I'll be happy to sign that, to go to these agencies to ensure that they are operating appropriately within our community.
And then, Jim, anything that you can legally do.
Yes, ma'am.
We want you to do it. And that's the other thing that everyone has to understand is state statutes and laws tie our hands on a lot of things. And I'm not going to tell our staff to do anything that's going to put them in danger, number one, or in possibly breaking any laws that's going to land them in jail. They're all very passionate about our animals as well, obviously, or they wouldn't do what they do. So you got the sheriff here, or we've got our chief here. He can probably reiterate that as well. When it comes to animals, our hands are tied on a lot of things, not just because of county ordinances, but because of state statutes and state laws.
Yes, Commissioner Gold.
Be brief. And I'll just say, if you have opinions or if people have opinions, you can get my email address from Nadja. They can direct it at me. Just like I said, I'll go ahead and compile those and get the opinions to the other commissioners and just send it to me. I don't mind going through all of them. But like I said, just remind people that when they send an email, I was a cop for 25 years, so, I'm pretty thick-skinned, but send an email that somebody would like to receive themselves, and, starting off with some of the comments that I'm sure you can imagine. I don't look at social media. I know our staff assistant does constantly, so we all see it too, so we're aware of everything that's going on. But we appreciate y'all being the representatives for this.
Thank you. We're going to suspend public comment at this time and move directly into our public our public hearing to authorize the use of uniform collection method for non-ad valorem assessments. So, Mr. Hubick. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Could we please have proof of publication? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome. I have a proof of publication of legal ad number A0009428828 entitled Notice of Intent to Use Uniform Method of Collection of Non-Ad Valorem Assessments, published in the Star Banner newspaper on October 31st, November 7th, November 14th, and November 21st, 2018.
Very good. Thank you. And now, Mr. Hubick.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Hubbuck, MST Assessment Director. Today is the agenda is to request to authorize the use of uniform collection method for non-ad valorem assessments for multiple project areas, and that could be based on either new assessments, existing boundaries, or values changing of the assessments.
Thank you. We've got quite a list here. I will bring it back to the board. Do we have any comments, any questions? If not, we'll open it up for public comment. Do we have anyone in the public who would like to speak to this particular item for this public hearing? That's easy. Bring it back to the board.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Moore. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you, Mr. Hubick. We'll now go back into our public comment. Do we have anyone else in the audience who would like to speak this morning? 2 minutes. If you can't readdress at this point in time, but if we have anyone who has not spoken this morning who would like to address the board, you're welcome to come forward now. If not, we will close public comment.
Got her hand up.
Please come
She needs to come
forward.
up.
If you'd like to speak, then please come forward for 2 minutes, and please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Judy Souza, and I live at 15763 Southeast 95th Circle in Summerfield. What I'd like to address is that I was at the Bellevue Vet with my dog. My dog was fine, having its first checkup. But this woman that we are addressing about the puppy mill, the Bailey Plaza, I was there when she came in with three cratefuls full of puppies. And I can honestly witness that I thought her puppies did not look well. Their eyes were glassy. There was probably 15 puppies in each crate that was there, and there was 3 of them stacked high. That honestly, they just didn't look well. I just wanted you to know that I did witness this and I saw this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else in the audience who would like to speak this morning? Okay, if not, we're going to close public comment and bring it back to item number 3 to adopt 3 sets of meetings.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Zalek, second by Commissioner Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
4A1 and 2.
Second.
Very good, I love it. We've got a motion by Commissioner Zalek, second by Commissioner Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Since we do have our sheriff representation in the back, I'd like to bring forward 9B. If you'd like to maybe share that with us, Mr. Boynes?
Yes, Commissioner, 9B is a request for acquisition of the Tough Books computers for the Sheriff Patrol vehicles. It's a sales tax project. It has been approved in the budget, and we would like your approval.
So moved. Second.
All right, very good. We've got a motion by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Moore. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you, Mr. Boynes. Now we'll go to item number 5, Clerk of the Court.
That doesn't mean you can leave. You need to stay here for the rest of the meeting.
Morning, Madam Chairman. 5A, 1 through 4 is the budget amendments as listed on the agenda for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Moore, second by Commissioner Bryant. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
5B is a program calendar for fiscal year 1920 for annual budget and capital improvement meetings.
What's the pleasure of the board on this? Commissioner Gold.
I have one conflict, that would be on March 18th. Is that a, nails on one? Nope, that's not a meeting, so I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Any
So moved.
others?
Hold on. That's not a meeting?
Is it?
I'm looking
March
on
18th.
March
the
18th.
18th.
No,
It's a
that's
Monday.
when the budget will become available
It's
to
online,
for my
Yeah.
review.
Okay,
Online.
all right. Because I'll say I have a conflict too.
On March 18th?
Yeah.
Big.
I have a big conflict.
Well, you're not going to do a whole lot of work on that day?
Don't think I'll be working that week.
Any other, have anybody else have any other issues with any of these dates? Okay, so did
So
I?
moved.
I hear a motion by Commissioner Moore,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you. 5C is a request to move forward with the cost allocation study by Maximus.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Moore.
Is that is that the same firm? I just don't remember that that was the same firm from last year.
Yes.
Okay. I thought so.
It's a continuation of several years. They have the historical data that's available. So.
And so they've done it for at least the last 5 years for us,
Yes.
right? Okay. Just making sure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And now we'll move into our consent agenda. And give me 1 second. I'll I'll start to my left. Commissioner Gold, do you have any to
No.
pull? Commissioner Bryant?
I'm good today.
Commissioner Moore?
Well, Amanda Tart wanted me to pull 7B1, but I said for Chief Bance's sake, I would not pull it.
Okay. Commissioner Zalek?
Good.
Okay. Then I'll bring it back to the board for motion to approve the consent
So
agenda.
moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Moore, second by Commissioner Bryant. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Let me get caught up with my items, and now we'll move to item 8. Our illustrious attorney over there, Mr. Mentor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 8A is a request for board approval of an option to purchase agreement between the county and Ms. Carter. This relates to the county's extension, northerly extension of the Northwest 35th Street corridor, which would go through the Ocala 489 project and through the Ms. Carter's property that would be part of a future interstate interchange. The board has discussed this previously. We've been in negotiations with the property owner for some time regarding this right-of-way corridor. Ms. Carter's here with Attorney Blanchard, as well as Attorney Gray is here. Both of them have represented her in these negotiations, so if you have any questions for them. I note a couple of little typos that are in the board materials. In the agenda item, the cover page, it references a acquisition of 17.6 acres, but then later on it refers to plus or minus 6 acres. It's that 17.6 shouldn't be there. It's 6 acres that we're talking about, plus or minus. And then in the definitions of the option.
It is the 17.
Commissioners, Tracy Straub, County Engineer for the record. The property owners have been very willing to work with us as we review our options. So the initial acquisition that the legal description provides for is upwards in that type of acreage. When we fine-tune the 17 plus acres, when we fine-tune the actual the design between the bridge and the fill, we will, that encompasses our construction easements that are necessary, and then we will be releasing some of the property back to the original owner, with the end result being closer to the 6 acre.
All right. Go ahead.
Sorry, Guy.
And have we worked out our issue with being able to find out exactly what we're going to need for the scope of this project?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Commissioner. We, per the guidance you all provided last week, the consultant is on board. The consultant has already been acquiring survey. The consultant is getting us some preliminary work in that we are able to look at putting out a bid for fill to bring that to see those costs, to be able to bring back what our actual differences are in our cost options, our alignment options, back to the board in February.
And then is the mining operation going to cease while we're going through this process?
So one of the items in the agreement, they did agree by us doing this purchase agreement that gave them what they needed to be able to hold for us and stay steady until we finalize. And per this agreement, we must finalize a transaction by the end of March. Okay. We do have to make a small consideration for them to hold to make the legal transaction of $5,000. Okay. And again, that's at the board's discretion today.
I just want to make sure that they're not going to continue to mine,
and
then all of our work is going to be moot because there's going to be more fill that we're going to need.
The document provides for their commitment.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
So this agreement provides, again, it's an option contract.
Right.
So this is not in itself a purchase agreement. It provides for an inspection period ending January 31st of 2019, but actually the important date is the end of the option term, which is February 28th, 2019. So the board has the option to not exercise its right under this agreement. As Tracy indicated, we're paying $5,000 for the option. If we don't exercise the right, then we will lose that $5,000, which is, considering the potential purchase price, that's a very reasonable term for the county. If we exercise the option by February 28th, then there would be a closing on the purchase by March 31st of 2019. So those are the important dates in the agreement. The purchase price, if we exercise the option, is $6 million for the right-of-way acquisition. Any questions?
Any questions?
So there's no requirement on our part to have a reason for executing the
No.
option or not executing the option,
Right.
correct?
That's correct.
That's what I was reading here, so I'm good.
Okay. Then I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Zalek. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you for
Madam
working with
Chair.
us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner
That's
Bryant.
just what I wanted to say was thank you, everybody, for working. I'm sure that you can understand the reasons why we couldn't just jump in without knowing all of the information. So, thank you.
Very good. I'll now continue to leave it with Mr. Mensler.
All right, item 8B is a request for approval of a resolution. This deals with the Escambia Housing Finance Authority bond program. And for some time, Marion County's Housing Finance Authority has participated in the Escambia County program. This allows for the issuance of bonds to finance first-time home ownership for affordable housing that Marion County residents can benefit from. We've been in this program for a number of years, but there was a need for us to renew our resolution which authorizes the operation of this program within Marion County. There's no financial commitment on the part of the board to participate in this. It's similar to some industrial development bonds. And so we're recommending approval of that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
So moved.
That's a good program. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Zalek, a motion by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Zalek. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That
Aye.
mo-
Or, no, I'm sorry. I was with the
Okay.
4.
That motion passes unanimously. Okay, thank you very much,
Oh,
Mr.
thank you.
Mensler. Mr. Boynes, I believe you've got some additional items here for us.
Good morning, Commissioners. Only one item, 9A1, to give you an update on empowering Marion for success.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Take a picture for your profile or what?
Oh, I probably need a picture or video or something, right?
Yeah.
Good morning,
Are you going to teach
Commissioners.
us some Excel?
Everything goes into Excel, that's right. Mike McCain, Fiscal Manager. What we're going to do, so 2 years ago, we rolled out this Empowering Marion for Success plan. It's already been 2 years since we rolled it out. So what the plan right now is going to be, we're going to come and address some of the tasks. So we have 139 tasks that we had identified that was going to help us to meet these goals. Instead of just saying, here's what's happening with the 139 tasks, we're going to roll them out every meeting. We're going to have different departments come up and tell you, here's what we're working on, here's what we've done. And so I'm starting us off with administration and fiscal review. We have about 12 tasks that were assigned to us, and I'll just give you a quick update of where we stand with each one of them. First one is really we focused on communication with a couple of these at the very beginning. So we had a biweekly department directors briefing with the county administrator. So on Tuesdays we don't have a board meeting, Monier's here, we have our directors out here, and it's just a quick 15-30 minutes of just here's what's happening, here's what's going on. It's just a way to get face-to-face and to get good information going, keep everybody on the same page. The second task is very similar to that. It's regular announcements to staff to bridge the communication gap. There's emails. We've also taken our inside portal. When you go to the home page, there's a spot there where it says, here's the administration's messages, I guess. So right now we have here's the holiday calendar coming up for next year. That's what's out there right now. But that's our way of saying, here's what's going on with administration. We're looking to expand on that. One of the things that we talked about early on that we want to do is kind of a video presentation, maybe from Monier or Jeannie or Angel, where it's just kind of a quick, on a Monday you come and watch, hey, here's what's here's what's happening with the county this week, next week kind of thing.
Mr.
The,
McCain,
I don't know if you guys have
If I
this.
could just pause you for just a
Sure.
moment. I'd like to ask if anyone has a conversation that you need to have, if you'd please take it out of the auditorium. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. McCain.
Sure. So those two, so with all of these tasks, and we're going to, as people present them to you, some of them are very clear-cut, and you say they're done, and you wipe your hands and you move on. There's others that are just going to be a continuous. Like that's one where we just want to continue to improve communication and increase that. So we have something, we say it's an ongoing event or it's a not ongoing. So we're either done or, hey, we're going to keep working on it. So that's one. Both of those first two are ongoing events. The credit card policy. So we said we're going to put together a credit card policy to get all the departments on the same page. We're trying to, well, we're not trying, we've decided we're going to pass along the convenience fees whenever we have a third-party merchant involved, and so that's been done. We took our cash handling policy, which involved here's how to handle cash, here's how to handle checks. We just added another paragraph saying here's how we're doing it with the credit cards. So we're working with the vendor now to roll this out. We're doing it right now with the utilities. We're rolling out to the rest of the county, so that one's an ongoing kind of thing. But once that one's done, that one will be done. The countywide customer service policy and procedure review. So this is a big one. So some of them are smaller. This is a big one. This is, hey, go over all your policies and get them all up to date and don't have them conflict and all that stuff. So that's a huge undertaking, which we're in the middle of doing. There's also the customer service part of that is we've got a survey that we're about to roll out. We're finalizing now. We're also going to go and meet with different departments throughout and just emphasize the policy, emphasize the customer service, find out what they're doing, where they need help. Hey, here's what this department is doing. Maybe it'll work over here for you. So it's going to be a lot of that. So there's going to be a big push for customer service, and there's a big push for getting these policies all together. So the next few that we're going to talk about are all kind of on the fiscal review side. So we say we're going to develop a 5-year CIP budget. We've always done the CIP budgets, but we wanted one that was the kind. In the enterprise funds, we've always said, here are the projects we're going to do because here's the revenue that's coming in. That wasn't always done on the general fund. We just said, here's some, it's not really a wish list, but here's some projects that we were going to do, and we just kept pushing them out. So what we have now is we have a 5-year budget. It's got realistic revenues. It's got realistic projects, and the idea is we do the projects this year. We know what next year's projects are. We know what the years after that's projects are. So we've done that the last couple years, and we'll continue that. Also during the budget time, we annually review revenue. The revenue is the first thing we talk about with all the departments. When the departments come and talk to administration, it's always, let's see what your revenues look like and that kind of stuff. There's also a fee schedule. We're making sure everybody's keeping their fee schedules up to date. We have a list, so we've got several departments have already recently updated them. We've got about 3 other departments that are about to do it next year. So we've got all of these. What we want to do is just make sure they're not getting old, not getting stale. They're staying with the market trend, and that we know, and we take a look at it on a regular basis. That's really the point. So here's one that we're reevaluating. So we say we're going to look at new assessment opportunities every year. So this is where we were trying to relieve some of the burden on the general fund. We're going to try to use assessments. Since we put this out, we've realized, hey, we've got all the assessments available that we're going to do. Really, this one we're going to reevaluate. We're really going to, this will become more of an MSTU department kind of thing where they'll keep pushing for more assessments for maintenance, more assessments for the same assessments we normally do, but there won't be new assessments added that are going to help with the general fund. Does that make sense? No?
Well, I'm thinking, don't we take care of looking at the MSTU as we need it?
That's
so
right.
Does this really need to just be put to bed?
It could be. It could be. But there might be other opportunities too. So we didn't want to just say delete, cancel, ignore. We said, hey, look, if there's a way to take this the same purpose of this task, if we can reevaluate or repackage it somehow, that we could still provide some benefit.
Okay.
Our increased use of grants for capital improvement. So really we're just, there's been mixed messages about whether or not we go after grants or don't go after grants. The message is we go after grants. So, but we want to make sure we go after the right grants. We want to make sure that the grants match our vision and where we're headed. We want to make sure that the grants don't have strings attached and that kind of stuff. So what we've done is with the help of internal audit and finance, we've put together a grants policy. It's a real quick, it's just a short little policy that describes this is how we're going to chase grants. What we're doing on top of that, though, is we're putting together a grants manual. So it's a longer format with flow charts and here's specifics. But again, all of this grant manual and this policy is really just saying, here's how we're doing it from the county, a high view from the county point of view. Each department, depending on what agency they work with, is going to have to get into that agent's specifics. And we wrote the manual. We're going to roll it out this week to senior management, and then we'll start looking at it. Hopefully we'll get it approved early next year is the idea, and say this is now our grants manual, and then everything, and then the departments underneath it can add their specifics as they need to. Okay. So that's what we're doing with the grants. So sponsorship. So we want to go after sponsorships. We want to, and we have a policy that's being looked at now. I think it was presented at the last board meeting. You guys should be getting a look at it one-on-one on any tweaks that you want to make to it. But really, we're saying if private companies or agencies in general, if you want to sponsor an event, if you want to sponsor a facility, we're open to it. And so we're putting some guidelines in place and putting a policy in place that we can handle that. So evaluate use of plans measures. So we have a lot of plans. So this is one, right? We've got strategic plans, we've got master plans, we've got a lot of plans. And so this is really just saying, how do we bring these together? How do we make sure that this isn't a plan that we just make, we put on the shelf, and we move on to the next thing? One of the things we're doing with our strategic plans, so this is our last year of the strategic plans from the department's point of view. So we're working on those currently. They're wrapping up this week. So every department will have gone through a strategic plan in the last 5 years. We moved them this year to the fall. And the reason we moved them to the fall is so that when we present them to you guys and you guys give us direction on those, which will be in January next year, when that happens, we want to be able to adjust our budget. We'll be working on the budget for the next year. We can adjust our budget and make those changes. In the past, we were presenting them to you in May. We'd already had the budget in the system, and we were talking about what we wanted to do this next year. So we have made this tweak. We've asked the departments to do these strategic plans help. From what they say yes, they do help. We're going to, the plan is to continue with the strategic plans at the department level. Next year, next fall, we'll start with the 4 that we started with at the very beginning. It'll be OCE, it'll be procurement, it'll be building safety, and library, I think, is the 4 that we will start with. So the idea, and maybe it won't look exactly the same. Maybe we tweaked them when we went from business plans to strategic plans. Maybe we'll tweak them again in the format, but at least everybody will then, everybody will have one, and then we can move forward with getting them updated after that. The other thing on that is the measures. So the measures are like the benchmarking that we do with Florida Benchmarking Consortium. We do some benchmarking, or we offer some benchmark numbers at the budget, and so we just want to take a look at that. We take a look at the benchmark numbers at the budget when we review the budget at that time. So the Florida Benchmark Consortium, the latest report we have was from 15-16, which is a little bit old. Right now we've turned in our 16-17 numbers, which even also that seems a little bit long ago, but that's what we've got. So the plan here is so those have been turned in. When that report is finished, we'll sit with each of the departments that have benchmarks on there, and we're going to say, let's talk about each one of these benchmarks. And the benchmarks, I think the different departments use them for different things. Some of them just look at themselves from year to year, and that's okay. Others you can compare to the different departments or different counties, different cities throughout that's the ideal that you do that. Sometimes the way we measure something might not be the way they measure something, but that's the ideal way of improving your processes by doing that. And so that's the plan. So the plan is and last year the report was issued in December of last year, so hopefully we'll have the report issued December this year, and we can roll right into that with the Florida benchmarking, with the reviews at the department level. So the next 2 are really, I don't want to say they're Tyler dependent. We have started on them, but Tyler's going to really help with both of them. So the next one is the business dashboards, and that's really a Tyler feature. I mean, when you open up Tyler, it's going to have a dashboard, and it's going to say, here are the items that you have to approve. And they're all, it's customizable. Here's the data that you care about or that you've said you cared about, and here's what's happening with it currently, and that kind of stuff. So that's going to be a huge benefit. We do have a few. I know IT has done a dashboard for I think it's at their work order level, and so where they can keep track of that kind of stuff. But really, this is when Tyler comes online and it's got access to all of the databases that we have. I mean, this is going to. It's going to take care of itself, in essence, this item. And a lot the same thing with the open data. So the open data, the idea there is we do a real good job right now of giving the public access to our data. You can go out there and you can see our budgets. You can see, CIP plans. You can see different departments have different things. But this is just another tool to take reports and just, typically they're not real pretty. You just take the report and say, here's expenditures for the month, or here's revenue for the month, or here's work orders or requests or whatever. So that's the idea of the open data. Currently, we do have some open data. If you go through view our maps into the GIS, we have layers that we create our maps with that are available to the public. So anybody else that uses GIS can take these layers and they can download them and use them for their mapping. So we do have some of that kind of stuff. And again, I think that's going to really come into play when Tyler's up and running. It'll make it a lot easier to export from that directly into files that the community can see. So did I talk too fast? I don't know. So
you gave us a lot of detail,
okay.
And I know a lot of information was put into that book, and I appreciate you coming and starting us off, because, Commissioners, I have asked that we begin to look at that plan. It's a strategic plan for administration that, it builds out the changes that would be taking place over the next several years, and I would just like the update going forward. So starting off with yours, Mike, thank you very much.
Sure.
Because you are so, I'm going to say exceptional with Excel, do you have an Excel spreadsheet that really kind of drives this down for my benefit?
I like it too, because I really wanted a pivot table to go with my
summary. Well,
if you could please provide that for me, I'd appreciate that.
We could accommodate you. We have this in an Excel table that's accessible by all the departments, and the idea behind it is that they have access and they can update it and say, hey, look, this is in progress, it's completed. So we have that. I don't know that I have a copy of it, but I can.
Color coded?
It's what?
Is it color coded?
It is color coded. So if things go green and yellow and red.
Now I can see the whole map.
And so we also have another tab where we said, so we have a tab called the summary, which it has these tasks. I'm probably telling you too much detail. We have another tab that we said, if you do something towards one of these items, let us know what you're doing. Right. So the idea behind that is, if library is doing something on one of these tasks, it might spark me to say, hey, look, maybe I can do that to improve communication or get out my message better or whatever, right? So there is some of that. So that's the idea behind the tool, and there are pivot tables associated with it, so you'll be happy.
That's awesome.
Can you spice it up like you do the OCE game show each year? You'd said that
we could.
asset.
We could have a quiz.
Okay.
Well, yes, Commissioner Bryant.
And Madam Chair, I'm sure that somebody's already thought about doing this, but I'm just asking the question to make sure that we're doing it, because this is 2 years old and because there was some time before it was finalized. So I'm going to guess that probably it's about 2.5, 3 years old. I would really like for administration to go through that, because there could be some things that are in our Empowering Marion for Success that we might not be moving in that direction anymore, because we've been moving at the speed of light, or it's just no longer relevant. So also, while we're doing these, make sure that we're doing that as well.
But you guys are doing that anyway, right? I mean, it's a 5-year plan.
Yeah,
it's a
that's
working
right.
plan. So.
We knew when we were putting the 5-year plan together that not every one of these items was going to would make sense when we get to them, kind of thing. But
how long would it take you to get an updated version where you've purged maybe things that we've already accomplished or things that aren't really relevant?
Yeah.
Because I know that we have a whole department that a lot has changed in.
Yeah, it shouldn't take a long time, but
okay.
Let me look at it and I'll brief you guys one-on-one.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Madam Chair, if I may. Mr. McCain mentioned something that concerns me. It needs follow-up, and he may have already talked to internal audit, but I caution you to the sponsorship of events by vendors, the appearance of that, if you are considering a contract with that vendor or after the fact, that y'all be very cautious about that.
Okay, very good. Well, we certainly have legal involved with that as well, and we'll make sure that everything is coordinated appropriately. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. McCain, thank you very much, and I appreciate it. I look forward to additional conversation.
We'll get you the follow-up of all of them, but that's the idea. The idea is we're going to talk in.
That was the whole purpose of starting this conversation, this dialogue, to start looking at these on an individual basis. So thank you. It's accomplishing and what I expected it to. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's all what I have.
Okay, great. We'll next then move to item number 10, committee items.
Yes, ma'am. If you would, if administration and you would, I'm going to verbalize, as I understand, this is for the License Review Board. And buried within this process of this ballot, it says that you can vote for if only one consumer is selected for let me back up. 2 consumers were elected, got appropriate votes.
Okay.
So one would assume, or I assume then, that the other individuals voted on the section where there's 4 names, there's only 3 people that received appropriate votes. So I would assume then that the 2 that got consumer votes would be proper. So Roger Sandor and Fawn Singletary received appropriate votes. And then the next section for electrical, Mr. Stokes received the appropriate votes. And then the vote 1 for the general contractor, Keith Poole, received the appropriate votes. Then the next section that listed 4 people, of those 3, Kitzmiller, Curry, and Duryea received appropriate votes. And then your alternates was select 2, Mr. Bennett and O'Cole received appropriate votes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Moore. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
10B is for Pine Run Municipal Taxing District, and Jerry Lawson received the appropriate votes.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bryant, second by Commissioner Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Move 10C and D.
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Zalek, second by Commissioner Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, those motions carry unanimous. Well, that motion for both items carry unanimously.
So move 11A.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Zalek and second by Commissioner Bryant. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Commissioner comments. I will start to my right. Commissioner Zalek.
All right, so I've only got one huge comment to make, and that's that the North Marion Colts are going to the state playoff finals for the first time in their history. They're going to play for the state championship, 5A, in Orlando this Friday at 3 o'clock in Camping World Stadium. So the Colts have gone from a 3-7 record last year to a 13-2 record this year, and have been playing some outstanding football. And so we're really proud of our North Marion Colts. Right, Commissioner Bryant?
Go Colts.
Go Colts.
Wow. Awesome. Go Colts.
That's it.
Wow,
Go
Commissioner Zalek's quiet today. Mark that on your calendar. Miracles never happen, or a miracles never cease, I should say.
Commissioner Moore?
Quick question, is a different commissioner going to bring up Natalie Kelly's letter? Were you going to bring that up? Okay. Then I'll leave that off to the side. I'd like to mention about the history trail. One thing that was kind of interesting, we all went down to the Association of Counties, but between where we were meeting for the Association of Counties and the Columbia Cafe is the area called Fort Brooke. Fort Brooke has a road, or used to have a road that went from Fort Brooke to Fort King. It had the history of there, and you know, we've done here in Marion County, we've got our history trail. We've done some phenomenal things about promoting Marion County's history. I've talked to some others about promoting the state of Florida's history, doing the historical trail, because like when they're at Fort Brooke, there's a little thing that you got to read that says Fort King, but if we can get QR codes throughout the state where it tells all the different things, that you just hit it with your cell phone and you'll know where all the historical locations are where you're at. So somebody at Fort Brooke or somebody at St. Augustine knows, hey, while Osceola's housed at the Castillo, the Second Seminole War that caused them to be housed there was at Fort King. Or when you're at Fort Brooke, you hit it with your QR code. It says, hey, here's where Fort King is in relation to where you're at. So that's a thing that we're promoting. Where we're changing up our assignments, I'm going off the tourism thing, but I'm still going to be actively promoting Marion County and still actively promoting Marion County's history. But the History Trail, I'd like to thank everybody that's worked on it. And then I'm going on the Historical Commission, which is kind of, going off one where we're promoting Marion County's history, but one where we're helping promote it in a different way. So I'd like to thank everybody on all the committees that we were on this year just for the great work they do. We have a great team here at Marion County. One or two of our teams are currently in transition. I'd like to thank Jim for leading some of that transition, and it's greatly appreciated. You have a tough task ahead of you, sir, but thank you for what you're doing. But with that, we have a great team doing a great job, and I'd like to thank each one of our employees that comes in each day striving to make Marion County even better than it is, and we're the best county in the best state in the best country in the world.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. And you do have a passion for history, and I tried to match that appropriately. So thank you for what you do for our community. Commissioner Gold.
I think from what Kathy Wyckoff stated, what I got from that is it looked like they need a big book, the big book, and also Bibles for each pod. So I'll contact the sheriff and see if we can't get that done. If that means I donate them myself, I'll make sure that there's one for each pod at the jail. And besides that, I think everybody should have my card. So please email any concerns or comments about any of the animal issues, and I'll make sure that's done legally to the other commissioners, given out to them too. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Gold. I'll be happy to share in that with you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bryant.
I have a few things in front of you. You'll see an email to me from Natalie Kelly. She contacted me last Friday. The entity that she works with is applying for a grant to work to reduce the deaths from opioids by 40% in Florida's most affected communities. She wanted to afford us the opportunity to possibly participate in some of that grant funding. So I'm asking if Madam Chair, if you would be willing to sign the attached letter that she has sent for us to support them in applying for this grant. It is time sensitive. Sorry that it had to come like this, but if the board is okay
Yes.
supporting Madam Chair signing that, I ask the board for consensus to support Madam Chair and signing that for Natalie Kelly. She contacted me because, of course, she knows that I have with my brother dying from the heroin overdose, that I have a very deep vested interest in that. So ask for your support on that.
Absolutely.
Also, I wanted to talk about, during the last campaign, in talking to some of our employees, it was brought up that they would possibly like, and the board has already talked about it, but just for clarification, because there's been chatter on social media sites that we weren't working on it, and I wanted to clarify for those that think that we're not working on it. We do have some revisions to our ordinance that will be coming before us at our next meeting on the 18th regarding our Parks Department, and within that ordinance it does contain an opportunity for employees to for once a year to buy a park pass at half price, an annual pass. So just for the record, we have not forgotten about that, and it was a great idea. It's an easy benefit that we can afford our employees, and I think that we're all supportive and happy to do that. And then last but not least, just wanted to say I do get messages sometimes, and I try not to I didn't have Facebook Messenger for a long time. I just put it off because I'll get messages via Messenger regarding county business. And I just, so for the public's knowledge, for any of the commissioners, when we ask that you send them we ask that you send us messages via our email,
Our county email.
it's because of the public records laws that we have to follow. It's when we get anything, if we do any business via Messenger, we have to take snapshots of that. We have to send it to our email. So I'm just going to reiterate, and even on any other issues, I get messages via Messenger, and I will be going back off of it. I had only put it back up because I was trying to get rid of a bunch of stuff over the weekend through social media. But if you could please, we're not trying to be mean about it. It just, for public records purposes, public records laws are very stringent on what we have to follow, and we all are very cognizant of what we do, and we want to be in compliance. So my email is kathy.bryant@marioncountyfl.org. For any other commissioner, all you have to do is put their first name, their last name, at marioncountyfl.org, and we don't mind getting emails anytime. It makes it very easy, and thank you to our staff who generally they get the inquiries from us and have to go and answer some of those emails, and they're always really great about that. But so just so no one thinks that we're being mean about that, it's strictly because of public records laws that we will generally ask you to send us something via email.
Let me just add to that. Also, on personal cell phones, I do not like text, period, because my text back to y'all is call me, but do not send county-related stuff on my personal thing either, but call me. And if you ever need to get a hold of us, you can't get a hold of us, 438-2323. Naja can get a hold of us somehow, some way, so we're always accessible. But yes, amen, you're preaching, keep preaching it, because, people constantly are doing that, and it's a pain for us, but we're trying to keep in line with the Sunshine Law, which,
well, it's the
public records law, yes.
And those are very stringent, and I don't look good in stripes, so I'm not breaking those. Anyway, that's it, and,
Friday morning?
What now?
Friday morning.
Yeah. Friday morning, thank you for bringing that up. And for those of you who would like to help those less fortunate in our community through this holiday season, I think it's our 5th or 6th, I should have remembered that one, annual holiday food drive on the downtown square. It's the culmination of the Bringing the Harvest Home event. And so we'll be having the holiday food drive on the downtown square Friday morning from 7:30 to 1:30. You can donate monetarily, or you can bring a bag of food or a box of food or a whole truck bed of food, whatever you like, everything that you bring. And we ask for actually non-perishable items, baby items, toiletries. At this time of the year, we do try to help those in our community who are less fortunate, and all of the proceeds go to benefit Interfaith Emergency Services, the Salvation Army, and Brothers Keeper. It's our community's way of giving back to our community, and I would venture to say that it's probably, if not the biggest, one of the biggest food drives in our community. We're trying to surpass our record last year. I think our record, Preston, did you leave? Or is he still? Was our record last year 10,000 pounds? Yes, ma'am. So we have gone up every year. I think our first year we were at 4,500, and we've managed to go up each year. And the great thing about this food drive is everything stays right here in our community and benefits people right here in our community. So with that said, thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, and thank you for the nice video that you did promoting that on social media as well.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Okay, I have just a few comments. I would like to thank the staff for all the work that they put into the legislative priorities, those that were presented at our Florida Association of Counties. Every other county in the state agreed with that and have adopted them to be our legislative priorities. So again, a big kudos and thank you to Monir and all the team that participated in that, bringing it forward. Our legislative delegation will be this Thursday, beginning at 11:30, and it will actually kick off with the formal meeting at 1 p.m. at our Southeastern Livestock Pavilion that is open to the public. We will be meeting in the auditorium, and we will have all of our delegation from Tallahassee in both the Senate and the House present, that we will be talking about our requests and needs for Marion County as they look to go into the session in Tallahassee. So please, you're welcome to join us. We would like to make make it a December to remember at the Marion County Animal Services as well. For homes for pets, there will be half off of all of our adoption fees. So certainly think about that and the responsibilities that go with owning a pet, but we certainly have many beautiful animals to take home, again, to make it a December to remember forever. There will be a Christmas parade starting this Saturday evening about dusk, and I know Parks and Recreation, they always offer stands that you can purchase a seat to sit in the stands. Those dollars go back into the community with scholarships to help fund many of those programs for children during the summer. So certainly ask that you participate if you're looking for a nice place to sit, and you get to sit right on the corner up here on 25th and Silver Springs Boulevard, right at that area. So you see all the floats as they get started and all the energy that is associated with all those marching bands. And I'm just looking at my notes. I appreciate having Kevin Shealy here today to talk about opportunity zones for us so that we can continue to promote Marion County as well.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
One thing I did forget, for those of you who don't know about it, tomorrow night at the headquarters library, we will be doing readings of the Polar Express for the little ones, and they always come in their pajamas. And there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on. So if you have little ones, if you have children, grandchildren, there's 2 different readings. Are you reading this year too?
Yes, ma'am.
What time is your reading?
7 o'clock.
Okay, so I'm reading at 6:15. Monier's reading at 7.
Nice.
It's a great time and a great opportunity to expose your children to the Marion County Public Library and the fun things that they offer. So please come out and join us for that.
Very nice. Thank you for bringing that up as well. With that, I'm going to take us back into additional public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak as we get ready to close our meeting today, you're welcome to come forward, and you will be limited to 2 minutes. And I'll ask that you come forward. If you care to speak now, give your name and address again for the record. If there's more than one, you're welcome to join us at the other podium in preparation for your turn to speak, and we'll open that now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for an extra couple of minutes. And this has been, I'm just grateful to the way that this has turned. I'm very hopeful now that we're all going in the right direction, that we're all on the same page. I do have one concern. The ordinance thing, I realize that we just did the ordinance, and you can't just like flip it over and say, oh, now we're going to make a change and everybody initial it here. I get that. But there is 2 major breeders in Marion County with over 500 dogs. Okay, breeding over 500 dogs, our county we can't swallow their dying puppies. We can't. These are the puppies that are getting dumped in the forest. These are the puppies that are getting thrown in dumpsters behind stores. Because if this puppy isn't going to bring them, if they have to spend $10 to save one puppy, they're not going to do it. They're going to dispose of it, they're going to bury it in their yard, and then they're going to tend to the puppies, the 4 puppies that might live out of a litter of 9. All of their efforts is going to go into that, because those 4 puppies for them is $4,000. Where this puppy over here is costing them $4,000. That puppy gets nothing. Like, I can't tell you how many times that I've trapped a pregnant mama cat and had to bottle feed because she was so starved she couldn't even produce milk, you know, to provide for her babies. And I mean, they really They fight. So, I mean, people go get them for free, and then 3 months later, they're on the street on their own. And then they're reproducing. And you know what the pyramid is, and I didn't bring in it, but I mean, really, the ordinance, though, we have got to ban the puppy mills. We got to do it. I mean, there's no way to go no kill without that. And if some of y'all have friends there's a difference between a puppy mill and a breeder who breeds a service dog. Let's clear that up, because that seems to be a problem. To me, we do absolutely need service dogs. Absolutely, okay?
Ms. Ahern, I need your name and address for the record, and please have
Karen
a seat.
Arman, 2234 Northeast 6th Place, Ocala, Florida.
Thank you.
I'm Red. Should I go?
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome to come again or to visit with us individually. You're welcome to.
Because I just wanted to address the service dog thing.
Thank you.
Bruce Borders.
Bruce Borders, Standing United as Americans, 21535 South 441, High Springs, Florida, 32643. Well, I want to thank y'all for all the help that y'all gave me through the year. And I especially want to thank the lady that just spoke about the service dog. I need money worse than anybody, that's why I'm here today. But I wouldn't take $5 million for my service dog. And I was lucky I trained my own dog. But one thing that's been bothering me is there was an amendment on there about the greyhound dogs and how they were being mistreated and all that. Well, they put it out to where everything wasn't there. All y'all know, everybody in here knows that Marion County is the horse world capital of the world. And they started working on greyhounds, they're gonna work on horses. So I want y'all to be knowledge of that. And I hope everybody in here has a Merry Christmas. It's still Merry Christmas at our house. We don't like Happy Holidays. It's Merry Christmas. Amen. And it's about the birth of Jesus Christ, our personal Savior.
Amen.
So from that, thank you again. And I'll be talking to y'all after the meeting and all. And the community, from our county commissioners and all our law enforcement and everything, and especially, we've got the best veteran service officer in the world. Did you hear what I said? I didn't say in the county, or in the counties, or the state, in the world. And for everybody that works here, we should be thank God every day. And last but not least, we've got to keep God in our country. If we do not keep God in our country, America will fail.
Thank you very much.
So God bless all y'all.
God bless you too. Do we have anyone else in the audience? If so, please come forward. 2 minutes. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. Karen Gopper. My address is 11447 Leesburg. I just want to reiterate on the ordinance change. When this happened to me and my family, I contacted the agricultural department and talked to Bradford Brady and was informed that there was nothing they could do because she came with a health certificate, that my only recourse was to go into the Florida lemon law. I would also like to submit, if I may, the advertisement that I went off of where these puppies are, but on her LLC license, she lists her current principal place of business as somewhere totally different where these puppies are coming from, if I may.
Sure. You're welcome to leave that with our clerk. I think oftentimes people file their paperwork with a home office, but a business may operate at a separate location, just for clarity's sake.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for your time and listening to my story.
Thank you, Ms. Goppert. Do we have anyone else in the audience? If so, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. And if we have anyone else in the audience wishing to speak today, I have a second podium. You're welcome to come on up.
Linda Daniels, 1303 Estrelita Lane in the Villages. I just wanted to clarify that when we talk about puppy mills, we are not talking about legitimate breeders. I don't think anybody would want to interfere with the right of an individual to breed their puppies and even to sell their puppies in a responsible manner out of their homes. Certainly there will always be a call for that type of thing. I do not in any way mean to infer that all breeders are similar to what we're looking at, and that is the reason why we are requesting a ban on retail storefront sales. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Daniels.
Dale Kreitzer, 259 Marion Oaks Lane, Ocala, Florida. Again, I was just going to say exactly what Linda just said, but when I bought a dog and I wanted to buy a specific breed, I went to a breeder. They, most of the time, and I don't know many that have ever had them sold at a retail store. I'm always told the retail store puppies come from puppy mills all over this country. There's a lot. It's not just here in Florida. So in order to pass our ordinance of no retail sales of puppies or dogs in our county is not going to affect the true breeder. It will put a stop to puppy mills. I really, really wish that you would consider putting that back into the ordinance like the other counties did. It will help with our no-kill. Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. Again, I'm Kim Pruitt, 9315 Southwest 105th Street here in Ocala, and I just wanted to sum up just two things I wanted to say earlier. Put my glasses on because I can't see without them. One thing that's been implemented in a lot of the other shelters or counties with the shelters that we definitely are not doing here is the Facebook page. That brings more attention than Pet Finder, Pet Harbor combined. It gets those animals out of there. Whenever an animal comes in, that picture's taken right there. It'll take that employee 5 seconds just to email it to an admin. I think most of us will volunteer to be the admin. Believe me, it works.
We do have a Facebook page that we share.
Well, we're not. I don't think we're using it. I haven't even seen it.
I see it often.
I don't do Instagram. I'm one of those old people.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bryan.
I'll wait till Ms. Pruitt's.
Okay, and the other, this is just a real sore spot with me. We're labeling most of those dogs pit bull breeds. They are not pit bull breeds. If you want to keep that dog in that shelter, you label it pit bull breed. In fact, and I had the study, and Mr. Gold, I have the ordinances from Orange County and from Lake County. I've spoke to all those commissioners about the retail sale and about going after backyard breeder. I will send them to you. They're very good and very well written, especially Lake County. They have been a certified no-kill now for 2 years because of these ordinances. So I will email those to you. But UF did a study that 90% of what goes into that shelter is not pit bulls. They're lab mixes. 90% are being mislabeled. Now other shelters are just labeling them as mixed breed. Please take that pit bull breed label off of there.
Thank you.
That's all.
Commissioner Bryant, you have
Oh, just one last thing. It's not what you got going out of the shelter. It's what you've got coming in. You reduce that amount of animals coming in that shelter, and that's just that much less you got to get back out of there. And that's what they're doing in these other counties, and we're not doing it here. Thanks, guys.
So I think that probably, Commissioners, we can all support no retail storefronts.
Right.
If we can figure out a way to not to, I mean, if Mr. Mentor can explore like the storefronts without infringing upon the rights of legitimate breeders, would that be something that we can have a discussion about?
I'm happy to have a discussion on it.
Okay, so Mr. Mentor, can you do some research on that, you know, because I don't think there's a commissioner sitting up here that doesn't have a problem with somebody who is not taking care of their animals. Let me tell you something. I have a little 10-pound Shih Tzu poodle mix, and she is our little baby. And I mean, we've had multiple animals. You let me see you mistreating an animal, and I think all of us are, you know, our hackles will get raised a little bit. I think there's not one of us that want to see any animals being stacked in crates and living in deplorable conditions.
We attempted
That falls under animal abuse,
Yes.
which we
And
have.
so if you can research that and maybe bring us back some information, some options on how we write something like this into our ordinance. I think the biggest concern that you see is unintended consequences on people who do things the right way.
That's what I just want to make sure.
And that's the only
we
thing that we
don't
want to
do.
make sure that we're not doing. Second, Jim, could you come up for a minute, because I wanted to answer some of Ms. Pruitt's comments. We heard loud and clear the UF study about the labeling of the pit bulls. And I know the last time that I was over there, now granted it's been a month and a half, we got a little busy and I haven't been over there, but when I was there, we were not labeling pit mixes. We were labeling lab mixes. We were labeling them as mixes because we heard what they said coming out of that study. Are we still practicing like that in the kennel?
I have asked my staff over the last several months, Jim Sweet, Operations Manager, Animal Services. I've asked my staff not to label any animal as anything in specific other than a mixed breed, unless it's obvious of what it is. If it's obviously a German Shepherd or something of that nature, that's clear, we can label it as such. But other than that, I would like to see mixed breeds on our kennel identifications.
Yeah, and we do have a Facebook page. I know when I get the opportunity to go over there, I try to pick a couple of animals to promote myself. And I know that they do have a Facebook page, so maybe after the meeting, either Jim, you can assign somebody to show Ms. Pruitt, Ms. Kreutzer, Ms. Armin, I can't remember everybody's names, sorry. Show them, you know, where those things are, because if you're willing to share that information, we are more than happy to have you share that information, because we all know the more that the information gets out there, the better chance that that animal has of finding a home. And that's what the ultimate goal is from everybody up here, from everybody out there. Do you have numbers this month as to what we've done?
Yes.
Okay. And also we are doing some analysis to see the changes, and hopefully meeting in January, our staff is pretty covered up with a lot of stuff, but I've asked for an analysis on what we've been able to accomplish in the first quarter. It's not the first quarter of our year, but since making some of the changes that we've made, there's been a lot of positive that has come out of it. I know there's been some frustration, but as we said when we went into this process, are we going to make mistakes? Absolutely. It's a new program. That's going to happen. Nothing is ever perfect, but we're working on it and we're committed to it, and we're doing everything that we can. Sorry.
So for the month of November, we performed 178 adoptions. We've transferred 29 animals to our rescue partners, and we have SNR'd 47 cats this month, and every month that grows, those numbers.
Right.
Our new vet is up and running, so our second vet is up and running. Neuter commuter is out how many days a week?
Right now, it's 2 days a week. We are going to be extending that now come January for more days.
And the reason that we're able to do the SNRs is because of the second vet as well.
Correct.
And neuter commuter. Okay. So, Jim, can you, Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Bryan. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Can we ask Jim to give us an update on all of that stuff in January as far as SNRs, neuter commuter hours?
And I think that's part of our reports and our board package as well.
Yeah. Well, I'd like, if it's okay with you,
Sure.
for him to give it so that the public gets it.
I think that's a great idea.
Sorry.
Do you have anything else?
I'm done.
Does the board have anything else?
I think Commissioner
Madam Chair,
Bryan thoroughly covered it.
Before you adjourn,
Yes.
just so you know, and it was mentioned at the meeting about the day of mourning tomorrow, the federal building, the banks, and post offices have announced their closures. I don't know about the city of Ocala or if the county intends to do anything. I do know one county department agency is going to let their staff off. So I just bring that to your attention, and I don't know what the county's going to consider.
Thank you. We made some had some discussion of that this morning, and due to the short notice and the schedules that have already been in place, the county will not be closed tomorrow. But again, we certainly will be honoring as best we can while we are on site.
Thank you.
So thank you. Okay, with that, thank you everyone for being with us today, and I will adjourn the meeting.